The land of Kumasi had not experienced rain in a long time. They had famine and so they could not plant. They had been hungry for years and the famine was becoming a very terrible situation. People died every day until one day the herbalist called two strong men from the village. He fortified them and told them that finally the gods had provided a solution to the famine in the land. They were to go into the bush and forest and find a gemstone that had been missing for years. The two men were called Kwabena Kofi and Sika Kwesi. They were selected because of their skill in hunting and finding things in the forest. When they got to the forest, they encountered a very old man. Sika was not one to waste time. He quickly became angry because the man was wasting their time asking for water. But Kwabena was a gentle soul. He offered the old men water to drink and waited for them to finish. The old men, after drinking the water, were so happy that Kwabena offered help to them. They gave him a golden stone and pointed him into the direction where he was supposed to fetch the water that was going to bring forth rainfall in his village. Once Kwabena got to the river, he quickly fetched the water into his calabash, and with the golden stone in his hand, a whirlwind took him immediately back into the village and to the herbalist shrine. They were surprised to see Kwabena back so fast, and he presented the golden stone and the calabash of water to the herbalist. The herbalist sat and did some incantations. His eyes turned white as he was speaking to the gods of the land, begging them and pleading their case. He asked for rainfall and immediately a lightning struck. A lightning struck and a thunder struck as well, and rain started falling. The villagers were excited and everyone ran out. The rain fell so heavily that it even caused a flood. Kwabena had saved his village of this great disaster. They rewarded him by installing him as king, since their previous king had died during the famine. Sika arrived by that time and he saw that Kwabena was being installed as king. He got angry and attempted to fight Kwabena, thinking that Kwabena abandoned him in the forest. Kwabena tried to explain, but Sika wouldn't listen. He tried to fight him, but the guards took him into the forest. They tried to push him out of the village, but Sika would not agree. He wanted to fight and even drew his sword at the village guards. They tried everything they could, but he fought them and so they stabbed him. Sika lay there almost half dead and they left him to his fate. He lay there bleeding to death as the village palace guards walked away. Years later, the town of Kumasi was known far and wide as one of the richest villages in the whole of Ghana. They had very magnificent structures. Their men and women were living in so much wealth that they were the envy of other villages. Their king, Kwabena Kofi, had blossomed the old town. It took them from the period of famine to the period where they had more than enough to consume. The prince and heir to the throne was Kwame Kofi, the only son of Kwabena Kofi. His mother had died a long time ago. He had grown into a fine and strong man, but the thing was, he was blind, and so he found it difficult to maintain relationships or to even find someone that would suit him. His father was worried about him and had thought endlessly what he was going to do. He sought the advice of the council of elders, and they advised him to pick a wife from one of the maidens in the town. There was this beautiful maiden known as Abena. Abena was one of the most beautiful maidens in town. Her father lived in the neighboring village. They knew her because she had always come to the village of Kumasi. People spoke about her with wonder, and then the king thought this would be a perfect match for my son Kwame. He thought about how to invite Abena and sent a royal invitation to her father. Abena's father was overjoyed and quickly sent Abena to the palace. When Abena arrived, she was welcomed like a queen and treated with so much respect. She looked beautiful and her feet was adorned with jewelries. Everyone looked in amazement. Immediately she met Kwame. She fell in love with him because Kwame was the perfect depiction of what a strong African man should look like. Kwame entertained her with food and they had dinner. They had jollof rice and chicken. After that, Abena serenaded Kwame with the most beautiful song. Kwame could not see her, but by the mere sound of her voice, he knew that she was a beauty to behold. After an eventful week she spent in the palace, Kwabena bid her goodbye. He put her into the royal chariot and they took her home in a grand style. Abena could not believe her fate. The man was handsome, the man was kind. It was a perfect match for her, and she was more than excited to finally be part of the royal family. She alighted from the chariot when she got to her compound and was welcomed by her father's workers. They opened their arms in a welcome ceremony. They helped her with her bags, and she stepped out of the chariot like the queen that she was about to become. When her father came back, they sat in the sitting room and she informed him of all the activities. Her father encouraged her to keep on trying to make Kwame the love of her life. Abena was so happy. Her servant, Nana, always helped her out. She was applying her makeup and was looking at her beauty in amazement because finally she was about to become a queen of the wealthy town of Kumasi. Nana was an orphan. She was almost the same age as Abena, but she had always lived with them, helping them with jobs at home. One day, as she was walking back from the market after purchasing baskets of fruits, she met a very handsome man, which was indeed Kwame Kofi, on the road. He was kind of lost using his walking stick because he was partially blind. Nana helped him find his way back into the village, and they thanked her before they each departed. One night, as Abena was preparing her luggages to go back to Kwame Kofi's palace, her father called her and told her, "Abena, my daughter, you know I have never told you the story about how I lost the throne to Kwabena Kofi. Two of us were sent into the forest, but Kwabena abandoned me to die and left with the magic stone and water. And now I was almost killed. He ordered his guards to kill me, but the gods saved me, and now I am back for revenge." Abena was surprised, and she listened on. "There is something you will do for me, Abena, my daughter. There is something you need to do. Once you go back to the palace, ensure that everyone loves you. Ensure that everyone trusts you. And when you fully have their trust, I want you to poison Kwame Kofi so that there will be no heir apparent to that throne in Kumasi. And after that, we can get rid of the father, Kwabena Kofi. He is just a king by luck. He has no royal blood in him, unlike us, my daughter. My grandfather was the king of Kumasi before the evil drought and famine took over the village. Now it is time we take back our birthright." Habena was not one to disobey her father, and so she agreed. Unbeknownst to them, Nana was overhearing and eavesdropping into their conversation. She heard everything they said and was shocked when she found out that Prince Kwame Kofi was about to die. 1 week later, Abena Kwesi and her servant Nana were welcomed back into the palace. Abena was as pretty as the sun, and people stared in amazement. She always walked hand in hand with Prince Kwame Kofi, Everyone admired them and they made such a good couple. They spent so much time together, sometimes even having some getaway in the palace garden where they had conversations. They went into the marketplace and people admired what a perfect, good looking couple they were. Everyone was anticipating for the wedding and they looked at Kwame with so much envy. One evening, as Kwame was having his evening stroll, he didn't take the guards with him. He came across two men attacking Nana. He got furious as he attempted to separate the fight, but they wouldn't even leave her. They were trying to molest her, and so he fought. He injured them and took Nana with him as he took her home. Nana held him tightly and thanked him with her heart. Habena Kwesi was so happy that everyone had welcomed her into the palace. She prepared different dishes from fried rice to jollof rice, but when no one was looking, she added the poison that her father had prepared for her. She quickly packed it in and sent the maid out. As she prepared Kwame's food, she quickly went to serve him and even offered to feed him. Kwame could not believe that this was love. She fed him a full spoon, and before you know it, Kwame started coughing. And from coughing, he was already lying on the floor, looking unconscious and looking very weak. Habena shouted, and people rushed in to help. Immediately, Kwame fell unconscious. He was like that for weeks. Even the traditional medicine man couldn't cure him. Abena immediately went to the throne room where she confronted Kwabena Kofi. You are the king, but I will take that throne, she said. She ordered the guards, which she had paid heavily, to quickly arrest the king and throw him into the dungeon. The king was in prison while Kwame was lying almost half dead. He was in tears as he couldn't believe his eyes. Nana found out about everything and quickly rushed home to prepare a secret potion that her father had taught her. Her father was a skilled herbalist, and so she knew a lot of potions to prepare. She made one of her recipes and took them to Prince Kwame's room. Nobody was there, and she quickly added some drop in his mouth and in his eyes. He opened his eyes wide and in shock, but Nana signaled to him not to make a noise, else they would be arrested and thrown into jail. They secretly left the palace at night, and Nana took the prince to her home. Kwame was sad. He didn't believe that the love he felt was so real was nothing but a mirage. Nana comforted him, and so Kwame planned for revenge. Abena Kwesi sat on the throne with so much joy. She was proud of herself. She had finally returned the throne to its rightful owner. She had sent message to her father to quickly come into the palace so that he could be crowned king. But before she could say Jack, Kwame Kofi the prince barged into the throne room and attacked her. How dare you? Kwame roared in anger. I loved you with all my heart. I showed you love, and yet you poisoned me. You hurt me, and you even tried to eliminate my father. Because of this throne, Abena looked up. But this throne is ours. Ours! You could have told me, Abena, Kofi said. You could have told me everything that transpired. I would have asked my father to help out your father. But your father is even wealthy. We could have asked for forgiveness. He could have tried to explain, but you gave no room for that. You chose this path for yourself, and now you will go down the same way evil men do. Kwame immediately ordered the guards to seize Abena Kwesi and take her to jail. She was thrown into jail, where she sat weeping and crying her eyes out. She tried to beg Kwame, but he wouldn't look at her twice. Abena's father, Sika Kwesi, had heard about the uproar in the palace, and so he tried to run for his life. He packed up his bag and was about escaping through the border of his village into another village when he was surrounded by the palace guards. He was shocked with his eyes wide open as they arrested him and took him back to the village square. At the village square, he was placed on a gallows where he would be hanged. The villagers all gathered round. People looked at him with disgust. They could not believe that this same man they thought had died years ago was only planning to revenge. But his revenge had backfired because now his beautiful daughter will spend half of her life in prison while him, Kwesi Sika, would pay with his dear life. Weeks later, Kwame went to Nana's house, knelt on one knee and proposed to her, and she agreed because she had fallen in love with him since that day that she met him on that lonely road path. When she found that it was the prince and the same man that wanted to marry her master, Abena Kwesi, she had to pull back and be on her own. But now fate had brought them back together. Their traditional marriage was one in the town. Everyone gathered together to celebrate the love between the Prince Kwame Kofi and Nana, his love. King Kwabena Kofi was finally happy that his son Kwame had found a suitable woman that would always stand by him. Kwame and Nana often spent their time at the stream and often went around the village. They were perfect for each other, and people often told their story to their children to give an example of what true love, resilience, and contentment is all about. Nana was the love of Kwame's life, and they spent their lives in each other's arms. Moral of the story: revenge is sometimes not justifiable. Our assumptions can sometimes lead us to our deaths. The justice system should always be trusted whenever we feel wrong. The reward of evil is death. If you've picked up other lessons from this story, I would love you to drop them in the comment section so that we can all learn from one another. Thanks for watching, and until next time, subscribe to my channel so you can get more stories and content like this. Bye bye.